Since the first edition of the Fortmed conference, the set of researchers this contribution belongs to has brought to the attention of the scientific community the conspicuous military heritage of the Gulf of La Spezia and its great landscape value, since it constitutes a territorial defense system that is unique in Europe for its complexity and high integrity. The construction of the military maritime arsenal and its defensive system will mainly in the period from the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte to the Second World War determined the urban and demographic growth of the city, which in the 20th century experienced a great expansion. It informed the main structure of the landscape, making the whole Gulf a defensive machine. The system has two fortification fronts, a sea front and a land front. To this latter belongs our battery, that was one of the first works built in 1880, with the aim of preventing entry from the Gulf from the passes towards the plain of the Magra River. Built on the top of a hill, its backward but dominant position allowed it to beat the entire plain and its eastern entrances. The etymology suggests a link with the Latin locus, in the extended sense of a place inhabited by a family, but also a farm owned. Basically, Valdilocchi was an inhabited and cultivated valley. Perhaps, for the usual irony of the destiny, today the whole hill has been completely forgotten as a consequence of the mine-laying implemented by the Germans in 1945. Being abandoned, a pioneer forest has taken the place of fields, and the once distinctive characters of the rural landscape have been replaced by the rogue and uncertain features of the industrial and productive periphery. In last century, some radical transformations occurred to this landscape so that the hill on which the battery stands today is firmly tied-knit in the envelope of infrastructures and fences of an urban fringe area with a mixed industrial port and productive vocation. As documented by the archive materials, the pentagonal battery had a main front articulated on two half batteries, inclined to each other by 130 degrees and oriented to the north and northeast. The entrance opened into the gorge with a drawbridge with counterweights on a continuous dry ditch that ran around the entire structure, protected by three half battery and an ordinary battery. The courtyard was the heart of the building. There are various deposits and warehouse, the kitchen, the sanitary rooms, and the room with a circular plan under which a rainwater collection system was created. One of the most interesting aspects in this construction technique of the battery, which provided for its structural compartmentalization, creating walls that are not clamped together. This technological expedient has allowed the preservation and resistance of the structure despite the minings, making it riches. Following the will expressed by the municipality of La Spezia to start the recovery process of this fortification, a first intervention of the battery was started, with the cleaning operation from the weed vegetation and the subsequent digital survey, but conducted between June and October 2019.
Here it goes. The digital survey started in summer 2019 with the use of phase shift scanner, used to reach all the corners, all the elements, all the areas in the fortress. This was done obviously for all the exterior part and all the internal areas. And these take about 1 week overall in 2 different campaigns and producing 405 scans. The final point cloud, once aligned, cover correctly all the elements, all the details, all the masonry, and all the terrain in the area. This was quite important because allowed to have a clear detection of all the ruins, especially in the area broken by the bombs, and to have the shape of the terrain with an easy-to-read difference between the soil, the terrain, and the masonry. So it was also a way to get a full description of all the vaults, the details, the shape of the element, and have an easy access to sections, to passages, and all the elements reachable by the laser scan signal. For some meaningful element, some meaningful rooms, it was taken as well the photography from the scanner to have a colored point cloud with all the details as we can see in these images. So it's possible to have all the wall texture with the remains of plaster, the details of the cracks, and all the elements that create the pathology, the defect, the decay in this building. Obviously, the overall scan taken from the ground is able to describe the shape of the terrain, the vegetation, and the remains of various minor elements like the electrical and some component from the guns, from the weaponry that was in place once and then removed. And in this way, it's possible to have a clear relationship between the ruins, the exploded and demolished parts, and the interiors. So it's possible to manage all the demolished, damaged parts, like this arch, and pass across all the corridors, all the rooms that create this internal part of the fortress. And in general, the level of detail was kept on a quite high level without exceeding and without producing a too heavy and difficult to manage point cloud. This came out to be a good option because in the end it was enough to have a clear description of the masonry, of the various elements from nature and from the building, and then it was used as a base for creating the classical 2D view, 2D drawings that were well implemented in the classic procedures from the technical office of the municipality. So in this way we have the main plan view, and it's possible to notice that the accuracy, the level of details, obviously these are planned to be for 1 to 50 scale of reproduction and plot. So here are the sections that were chosen all across the building to reach the most meaningful sector of the building of the fortress, and then a view of the outside area that may be interesting for further intervention. Such a base was used to create also thematical maps like this one, that is a quick map about the situation with the area with different urgency. Then the 3D model, the point cloud, was used to generate a base for a beam management of the wall fortress, creating a model that allows to control each part in parametric design, subdividing the walls, the walls, the various elements that make the fortress. All the artifacts were divided and recreated using a parametrical modeling tool. In this case, by a requirement from the technical office of the La Spezia municipality, it was used ArchiCAD from Graphisoft. And this created the general model of the fortress, a complete 3D model available for the municipality to manage the fortress in itself. So, thank you for your attention.